honor to introduce to you Mr. Tim LeBaron. I'm going to say some things that he's not going to say, just so you know who he is. He's the Deputy Director for Regional Operations in the Office of Aviation Safety at the National Transportation Safety Board. In this position, he is responsible for the 50 regional aviation accident investigators and the 8 chiefs that supervise them. Before assuming this position, he was the investigator in charge for over 300 general aviation accidents across the United States, including a Boeing 747 cargo crash in Afghanistan in 2013 and a Boeing 777 accident in San Francisco in 2013. Mr. LeBaron was the United States accredited representative for several high-profile accidents around the world in countries including Russia, Turkey, Japan, and Dubai. He holds an aircraft, airframe, and power plant certificate with an inspection authorization, a commercial pilot certificate for airplane single-engine and multi-engine land, single-engine sea, and an instrument rating. Or to put it more simply, he is a pilot and an airplane mechanic and an airplane crash investigator. His education includes a master's degree of aeronautics science and a degree in aviation aerospace safety from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, a Bachelor of Science degree in aeronautical technology from Purdue, and an Associate of Science degree in aviation maintenance technology from Vincennes University. He remains active in general aviation through flying and maintaining his own airplanes. He owns several small airplanes, including a 1957 Hyper Tripacer, and is presently scratch building an airplane from a set of blueprints. He flew all the way down here from Washington, D.C. to speak to the students at Goshen. So please show him your respect and do your best to listen to him. Mr. Tim LeBaron.
So thank you very much. So how many of you know what you're going to do when you graduate from high school? Can you raise your hand? All right, I assume the others, you don't have a clue, is that right? That's where I was. I had absolutely no clue what I wanted to do in high school. Kind of interesting. I've had my mother tell me that some of my friends from high school said, well, Tim just got lucky in his career. He got very, very lucky. And I kind of wanted to go through a little bit about maybe disprove that I got lucky. So in my high school graduating class, I got lots of D's and C's all the way through high school. Really, really struggled. I wasn't interested in it. I just wanted to get out. Was finished and graduated. I ended up last in my class. Never took the SAT. Didn't figure I needed it. I wasn't going to college. Why do I need to take the SAT? 8th grade, they actually decided that they didn't know if they were going to let me go into high school because I had done so poorly. And they decided to let me go into high school, and if I didn't do well, they were going to kick me back to 8th grade again. So I started college, failed every class, dropped out. Wanted to be a pilot. I loved aviation, loved airplanes, I wanted to fly. But I didn't have any money. My parents didn't have any money to send me to college. And so how do you spend so much money to learn to fly if you can't, if you don't have the money? So I started delivering pizzas, actually, and earned enough money to start my pilot license when I was 16 years old. After I dropped out of college, really, I felt pressured. I had to go to college. I had to go to college. Everybody was expecting me to go to college. My parents never went to college, but I felt like I had to go to college. So I started college, and I wasn't interested. It was a career that I wasn't interested in at all, and so I dropped out of, bottom line, I wouldn't go to school. I would just drop out of class, wouldn't go to class, ended up failing. So really had no mentors in my life, nobody come along and help me out and tell me, hey, listen, if you really want to fly, there's ways to get loans to fly. Well, I didn't know that. And so I started into junior college to be an aircraft mechanic. And my whole logic was if I start out as a mechanic, then at least that'll give me a way to earn money that I could fly. So got into junior college, and actually I found my passion. It was like, wow. Number one, I was really good at work with my hands. And being a mechanic was something actually I could do, and I was really, really good at it. And so in junior college, I ended up getting straight A's in junior college, and because I had successfully completed classes in junior college, I got accepted at Purdue University. And my father, I still remember him telling me, like, why would you even start? You'll never graduate. You can't do the math, you're going to struggle, you'll never get through it. And so I did. I got into Purdue, and I thought, man, these people are smart. The one thing I found out, they were getting, I'd go to classes, and I'd study, and I would get like maybe a B or a C, and everybody's getting A's, and I couldn't figure it out. And I was like, wow, these people are so smart. Well, it took a while to figure out that a lot of them were cheating their way through college. They would meet certain places, and they had copies of the exams. And they would cheat, basically. They'd go in and knew what the exam would be before they got there. That's why they were getting A's. And so I got to the point where I had finished all of my classes except for my math. My dad had told me I couldn't do math, and he was right, I couldn't. So I ended up dropping out of Purdue, and I'd been out for about 2 years, and I was working on airplanes, and one of the professors at IUPUI, I worked on his airplane, he was the department chair of the math department. And Bart, one day, Dr. Ames said, Tim, why didn't you finish at Purdue? Why didn't you graduate? And I said, I can't do the math. He said, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. He said, you're the most methodical, logical person I've ever met. You should get straight A's in math. And I'm sorry, as you can tell, it's emotional for me, because it's been a tough road. But I went back and I got straight A's in algebra, trig, 1 and 2, calculus, and all through physics, because one person told me I could do it. My dad told me I couldn't, but somebody else said you could. And I actually got straight A's, graduated with honors from Purdue, because someone told me I could do it. And so I know for a lot of you, you probably feel like you can't do anything. And everybody has it all together, and maybe you don't. And so if nothing else, remember, believe in yourself, you can do it. So anyway, so I ended up graduating from Purdue, decided, hey, I did pretty good, I want to do a master's degree. And actually my confidence was pretty good at that point, after I got through all the math. Went on, did a master's degree in aeronautics, but the interesting to me was, somewhere along the line, I had a pretty good job at that point. I'd been working on airplanes, and I actually got a job where I was making some pretty decent money. And I always thought the NTSB was awesome. You know, the NTSB, anytime there's a big crash, they're the experts. They're the ones that actually go out there and investigate those crashes. I thought it was pretty cool, and they had internships in the summertime. And so I ended up applying to all the different places, and I got an internship in Seattle, Washington, and I'm from Indiana, so that's a long way from home, Seattle, Washington. So it was going to be zero pay. I had to go out there with a free internship, and I started working for the NTSB for nothing, not making a dime. And somewhere along the line, somebody saw something in me. And they ended up, I did a 3-month internship for free, and then I ended up, they asked me to stay longer, and for me to do that, I had to resign my current position, which was a really, really good position. But I took a risk, and I jumped on it, and I did it, and I'm still at the NTSB, so it was a good risk, I guess. But there's a term called failing forward. And that term means that you try something very hard, and even if you fail at it, you're still better off for trying. And so remember that, and when we talk about failure, if you're not failing at stuff, you're not trying hard enough, because you're going to fail at stuff if you're really, really pushing yourself. And it's not what you do with that failure. You know, the one thing about, I didn't tell you about Purdue, I took algebra trig 6 times before I passed it. 6 times. Bought the textbooks, went to class, failed it, tried again. And so, so failure, again, to me, you're going to fail at things. Try it. If you fail it, walk away, get your head, get back in it again. Find people to help you get through it. So anyways, at the NTSB, I still remember applying for the internship. I got interviewed. The reason I got the job, they still tell me, is because I told them I cleaned toilets. And I mean that. And I still mean that today. I'll clean the toilets, I'll sweep the floor. Whatever needs to be done, I'll do it. And they told me so many interns came and felt like that it was the NTSB's privilege that that intern came. And they wouldn't go out and they wouldn't work hard. And so when I came and said, listen, I'll even clean your toilets, I'll sweep the floor, they selected me out of 200 and some applicants because I was willing to do the dirty work. So all right, so moving on, let's see. We talked about failing forward. My dad, same thing. When I told him I was going to the NTSB for an internship, he said, why in the world would you even go? He said, they're not going to let you go on investigations, they're going to keep you behind a desk somewhere. Well, that's been wrong. That wasn't true either. My best friend, I still remember, he said, why in the world would you quit your good job and take a risk to stay at the NTSB when there's no guarantee you'll ever get a job? So that was 15 years ago. I'm now in the number two position at the NTSB in the Aviation Accident Investigation. So I've taken every single job along the way, from cleaning toilets, sweeping floors, to a non-paid investigator, to a paid intern, to a non-paid intern, to a paid intern, all the way up to a major IC, doing investigations around the world. Right now I work for 5 presidential appointees. I brief ambassadors. I'm on Capitol Hill all the time. And again, I don't say that to brag. I say to say I never give up. So some things that I've learned along the way, number one is attitude. I think a lot of people get offended. They're like, well, I have a good attitude. And let me tell you something. And after I taught for 5 years, and if I had one student, just one that was interested, I would do anything in the world to help that student. Because I had so many, they come in late, they sit in the back of the room, they're not interested. And so for me, the math, as you all know, was very, very hard for me. I got there, I sat on the front row. Same thing when it came to assignments. Even though a lot of times my assignments were wrong and I knew they were wrong, I made sure they were neat, they were legible. I always put them in one of those little clear folders, and I used to laugh about it because I still remember a guy that would cheat off me all the time. He would do the very same work I would do, and he'd get D's on his papers, and I would get B's. The answers were the same, but I took the time to make sure it was neat, readable. I sat on the front of the class and always ask for help. And if your teachers know that you really, really want to learn, they're going to help you. They're going to help you. So one story that I think is interesting, my nephew came to live with me, and Andrew graduated from high school 2 years ago and had absolutely no clue what he wanted to do with his life, none. And I said, hey, why don't you come live with me, Andrew, and you can live in the basement, and between now and January, so he moved in about May, I said, between now and January, you don't have to work. I said, if you'd mow the yard for me, I'd appreciate it, but I want you to spend this time really giving thought what you want to do with your career. And so every Sunday on our way to church, I said, Andrew, what did you do this week to better yourself, and what are you going to do next week to better yourself? And the first 3 weeks, he'd stammer around, he didn't have an answer. By week 4, he knew his uncle was going to ask him the question, and he would have some answer for me. So Andrew, I told him, I said, Andrew, you got lots of options. Number 1, you go to college. You can live with me. I'll help you out all I can. Number 2, you can go in the service, the military. Number 3, you get a full-time job and start paying you rent. Or number 4, you can move home. So you have 4 options, but you don't have the 5th option, which is to stay in my basement until 3 o'clock every morning playing video games. Because that's what he would do. He would play video games till 3 in the morning, I'd work from home, you could come up at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, grab enough food, and run back down to the basement. And I used to tell Andrew, you've got to pick a path. You've got to pick a path. It may not be where you end up, but just staying where you are and doing the same thing over and over and not launching out and trying something, you're going to get nowhere. So Andrew and I talked. January 1's coming up, and I'm like, Andrew, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you going to do with your life? Because he had to decide by January 1. And he didn't think he wanted to go to college. We got to the point where I said, hey, we better start doing some applications. Either that or move at home. And anyways, he chose the Air Force and is an air traffic controller in Ramstein, Germany. So he's doing really, really awesome. And I told him, you may not be an air traffic controller the rest of your life, but at least you picked a path. You tried something. So you won't have to pick a path. Even those of you that at this point you don't know what you want to do. So life is all about choices. Stay out of trouble. I think that you all know that, but it's true. I remember when Andrew tried to get in the Air Force, he came back and said, thanks so much for telling me to stay out of trouble, because the Air Force is one of them. Boy, they go through, I think they get so many people trying to get in the Air Force, they are very, very picky on who they choose. I mean, they want to know about every broken bone, every time you got stung by a bee, any type of drugs that you've done, anytime you've been arrested, they wanted everything. So stay out of trouble. Another little life lesson for me is I work with a lot of very, very, very smart people. These people are scary smart. And so oftentimes I sit there and say, you know, I feel really, really stupid. But I realize that every one of you can do something better than other people. You ever think about that? There's things that you can do better than anybody else around you. And so I talk about inclusion, even when you're doing group activities. I always like to work by myself. But even the person at your table that you think really shouldn't be part of your group, I guarantee there's something that they can do better than you. Capitalize on it, get them doing that. It's the same thing. So when you get at an event where you feel like you're really, really stupid, realize that, you know, and I look at it. I work with an SR-71 pilot. I work with a U-2 pilot. I work with a B-52 pilot. I look at all these military guys and I think, here I am in my little airplanes. These people are so smart. But I bet you they can't scratch build an airplane from blueprints. So we all have our place, we all have our role. So no matter how stupid you think you are, you can do things a lot better than some of your peers. All right, let's see, what else? It's all about how you treat people. It's relationships. Doesn't matter who they are. I can tell you every janitor that works at the NTSB, their name, I have a relationship with all of them. Because when I need something done, do you think they're going to help me? Absolutely. So treat people with respect. Find a mentor. Find someone that that you look up to. So maybe it's a teacher, maybe it's someone at your church, maybe it's a neighbor. Find someone that you look up to and ask them for help. And where I sit now, I see how important that is, because I didn't have that role early on. Someone that said, hey Tim, you can go to college. There are ways to find money. I didn't know that. I look back on it now, my path probably would have been a little bit different if I'd have known that. But find someone that you look up to. I still remember my wife at the time, who was a doctor, a physician. I remember when we first started dating, I had an associate's degree, and all of her friends had master's degree, and they were PhDs and doctors, and it wasn't long hanging around that group, but I'd go to dinner and they would say, hey, what do you do for a living? And I'd say, I'm an aircraft mechanic. And the conversation would end. They weren't interested. Or they would say, oh yeah, I wanted to be a pilot at one time. But hanging around people that you want to be like, eventually starts rubbing off. And you find out, you know what, I want to raise the bar a little bit. I want to try a little bit harder. So hang around the people, find a mentor, find someone that you look up to that can boost you and help you out. And I tell you what, as I get older, I realize how much that I want to help people. And I bet you your teachers are that way, a lot of your family are that way. So find that mentor, someone that you can look up to that can help you. And then the last thing I have here is follow your passion. Don't start down some path of something you're not interested in at all. To me, it's been aviation. And so, like I said, I bombed out of school at first because I was, don't laugh, I was majoring in classical trumpet. You know, and it wasn't something I was passionate about. I had to pick a path, and so I was like, all right, fine, I'll pick trumpet. I'd played trumpet in high school, but I wasn't passionate about it. I wasn't practicing. I wasn't going to school. I wasn't going to class. So find something that in your core you're passionate about and follow your dreams. So, all right, so that's what I had. If you have questions, I don't know if I can hear them or not, but feel free to holler them out. Y'all are awful quiet. Nobody has a question?
If you do have a question afterwards, come on up and talk to Mr. LeBaron. I just want to follow up. This is a very powerful talk. You guys are in a situation right now, being at the end of your high school career, that you are set up with a ton of opportunities. We had an opportunity, I just want to throw this out there, we had an opportunity for 20 seats of anyone that was interested in going into the medical field to have an internship at Mercy Hospital. We filled 3 of them. We had 20 seats. Every day I have internship opportunities that you guys right now can be stepping out of Goshen High School and meeting people in the business field that you have an interest in. To be able to find out if you want to go and pursue that now is priceless. You wouldn't spend money on things that you're not sure you want to do. Juniors, it's very important for you guys to start doing these internships. Take the opportunity to get involved in that. I heard him say it. He took a no-pay internship. Some of the internships I have, you get paid for. As a high schooler, making $15 an hour. You guys need to start taking advantage of some of the internships that are in front of you. You guys took the ACT yesterday, the juniors. If you did not get the score that you wanted on the ACT, you need to take it again. And then again, another message I heard him say was persistence. You have to persistently pursue that which you want to do. Success does not come out of luck. Success comes out of hard work and persistence. I wish you guys the best. You guys